Time entrepreneur Simon Davis is at the helm. Some people, though they look at this and say, why should we have any sympathy for you? You could just sell it. We really do need help, because we're just not making any headway on our own. The pot has been empty. There's nothing left in the pot. I do have my moments of darkness and doubt, where I think, what have I done? Simon Davis is a hard-hitting businessman with a proven track record in the fields of hospitality, restaurant consultancy, and events music. Simon is going to take his years of business experience and immerse himself in the world of the British country house. I'm trying to plot my way to the swimming pool. Yes, dude, please do. This will enable him to find the practical and sometimes unorthodox business solutions that will help secure their future. Get in there. Just take shabby chic to a whole new level. You don't need to be living in this enormous house all year round. Oh yes, we do know you don't. I can't do this. I'm sorry. The reality is, if you don't employ anyone else, that's going to stay empty. Simple as that. This time Chapel Cleeve is crumbling at an alarming rate. Can Simon help the owner fulfill her dream of restoring one of Somerset's most historic houses? Maybe he sent you here from God a hell of a lot to live up to. Hidden in the hills of West Somerset is Chapel Cleeve, a Grade II listed manor house dating back to the 1400s with a fascinating history throughout the centuries. This house has passed through many families, as well as serving as a refuge for pilgrims, and more recently as a hotel. But it was near derelict when in 1998 Jean Wilkins bought Chapel Cleeve at auction for £360,000 on behalf of her and her partner. It was a wreck, really. The roof had gone, and we had started at the top and worked down. They enlisted the help of a group of friends and country house enthusiasts, affectionately called the A Team, who over the next 3 years renovated the Edwardian West Wing and grand staircase. Every day was an adventure. We made such progress, and you could actually see the house coming alive again. But her happiness wasn't to last, and after decades together the couple split up. You never know when love comes, and I guess you never know when love goes. But he's been gone for 6 years now, and struggling on that it's not the same now. 63-year-old Jeannie lives on her own in this 15-bedroom house and survives on a frugal income from letting out one small wing. I never have the heating on. I sit in one room with a fire, go to bed with my clothes on when it's very, very cold. But while she devotes her time and every penny she has to the endless maintenance of the house and 7-acre estate, the building is crumbling. I can't sustain this, because I have no liquid gold to continue to do things. And with a building like this, you're fighting fires all the time. As soon as you've done a bit there, it's time to do a bit there. It has a very checkered history. I would like to see it survive, to try and preserve it for future generations. But I think its days could be numbered. On the verge of bankruptcy, Jeannie has been forced to put her beloved home up for sale. But desperate to safeguard this important part of Britain's heritage, she's called on the expertise of businessman Simon Davis. At now says, I'm pretty close, but this doesn't look like a stonking great big country house to me. There's a house there. How I get there, of course, is another matter. I'm just gonna follow my nose. A dead end. It's the hardest house in the world to find. The house has been on the market for over 18 months at a price of £1.7 million. But not only is it hemmed in by housing estates, its listed building status and planning restrictions mean it hasn't tempted any serious buyers yet. Jeannie, how do you do? Simon Davis, nice to meet you. Come on and have a warm thank you. What a wonderful hall, amazing place to work. How long have you been here? Jeannie, about 11 years now. So just 11 years. And why did you buy it? I fell in love with it. It's big, but it's still warm and friendly and welcoming, and had a lot of very happy times here. And do you live here alone? Well, with a fleet. I have 6 cats. And that is Mr. Bossy Joe. Hello, Mr. Bossy Joe. I'd love to see some of the rest of the house actually, so I can get a full picture. Come on. Jeannie begins by showing Simon the wing of the house she lovingly renovated with her partner and friends. Starting with the 100-foot Edwardian gallery with its plasterwork by the celebrated architect George Benkart. This plasterwork just goes on and on and on. Doesn't it absolutely beautiful? And the more you look up the more ya will see grapes and acorns. Big grand staircase as well. It was over 40 years ago when Jeannie's enduring love affair with Chapel Cleeve began. I came here in my teens when it was a restaurant with bars and a lovely ballroom. I just thought it was absolutely lovely. I never dreamt that day I would actually own it. The atmosphere was still here. I mean, you couldn't help but love it. It just needed some TLC. This is, or was the ballroom. You have the most magnificent sunsets, and of course, you can see the steam train too, as it runs past, and over there was where the band used to play. So you used to come here, yeah? I think yourself. Oh, there are over 45 rooms in the manor, only 18 are habitable, and apart from small fireplaces in some rooms Jeannie cannot afford to heat it. I used to have a lot of parties. Harry and the Queen, her sister Princess Margaret Bishop of Winchester, all came to have a party with you, Perry. I wish, but no, they have all been guests here. There's some people though, they look at this and the grandeur, and that you're rattling around in this massive house, and say, hey, you're completely bonkers. Should we have any sympathy for you? You could just sell it. Yeah, that's true. But then you'd have to be absolutely barmy to buy it anyway. Right, I'm getting the picture. Shall I show you up to your room to get the full Chapel Cleeve experience, and to provide inspiration for his business plan? Simon will stay overnight in one of the house's 15 bedrooms. It's beautiful. I mean, it's in wonderful condition. It is a lot of your work, yes. It is plasterworks, absolutely beautiful, very intricate. This is for you, Simon. I do hope you'll be comfortable. There's a bathroom through there, torch for emergencies, and I'll see you for dinner. Thank you very much. If you love history, then you'll love history. We have tons of exclusive documentaries about the most important people in history that you will not find anywhere else. We've got unrivaled access to the world's leading historians with hundreds of documentaries featuring everything from Boudica to the British royal family. We're committed to bringing you a great spread, Jeannie. The idea is you take one of these, and you take some meat, and you just stick it up there and cook it as you would like to cook it. The important thing is, would you like a glass of wine? I would love a glass of wine. That's very calm. You'd like me to pour it for you? Please do. It'd be quite nice for you to have someone here pour your wine for you. Oh, absolutely yes. But I've become quite accomplished, thank you. Does it get lonely though? Yes, of course it does. It must do. Well, cheers, Julie. Thank you. When Jeannie and her partner split up, she took on the massive financial burden of maintaining Chapel Cleeve by herself. Small income she gets from renting out a wing of the property leaves nothing to complete the huge restoration project. Okay, Jean, let's cut what the financial situation really is here. What do you think you survive on annually at the moment? I suppose I survive on just over £100 a week, right? £200 a year, which is a very small amount of money. And the work that's required, you would estimate what to bring this house up to? Well, if you have to employ labor, you are probably looking at $250,000, right? And you're probably looking at another $250,000 with architects' fees, surveyors' fees and everything else, so potentially £500,000 minimum. Don't you sometimes think, what the hell was I thinking buying this house? No, I mean, this takes a pretty miserable reading, I know, but there's always another day, there's always tomorrow. Well, you say that, but at the rate you're going, there might not be that many more days of you living in this house. I'm a great believer that sooner or later things will change. Maybe he sent you here from God. God, that's a hell of a lot to live up. Tasha's a compelling mix, Jeannie. On the one hand, I think she's bonkers rattling around in this vast pile with no money and loads of cats, but on the other side, I can't help but admire her passion and her commitment for this place. I mean, she's not just some aristo who inherited it and frittered all her money away. The fact is, she needs £500,000 to sort it out, and she survives on £100 a week. But I'm gonna have Tobe some kind of miracle worker. But are Jeannie's dreams for Chapel Cleeve about to be dashed as Simon confronts her with reality? This wasn't really the plan, though, was it, when you bought this house to be sitting in an empty jacuzzi for dead flies 6 miles west of Somerset's popular tourist town of Minehead and close to the Cistercian Cleeve Abbey lies Chapel Cleeve, a 15th-century manor house steeped in history. The original structure dates back to 1455 and was built as a refuge for pilgrims visiting the abbey after passing through several owners. The main section of the house, including a new 5-bay Tudor-style frontage, an extra wing, was built by the Halliday family in the late 19th century. At that time, the entrance led into a grand octagonal hallway with a sweeping staircase. In 1912, Chapel Cleeve was sold on again, this time to Gerald Lisset, an industrialist who made the final addition of the grand west wing with its 100-foot-long gallery and ballroom. This reflected the era's fashionable arts and crafts movement, with typical oak paneling, ornate plasterwork, and stained glass. Chapel Cleeve also served as a wartime hospital, radio tracking station, and school. After the estate was broken up in 1951, it became a renowned hotel boasting England's first German-themed beer cellar. Its celebrated history now lies far behind it, and it's home to just one woman, Jeannie Wilkins, who is on a single-handed mission to restore this once magnificent property. All you're doing is trying to keep the rain out, trying to keep it dry. But you're not progressing, and it needs lots and lots of labor, and lots of talk. Most of the house is uninhabitable. She has split up with her partner and now lives on her own with her 6 cats in a precarious financial position. Jeannie reluctantly put the house she dearly loves on the market, but after 18 months there's been little interest, and her options are running out. I'm here on my own. I've got all this space. I would willingly consider parting with it if it meant that the house could continue, and I could have my home here. She's called on the expertise of businessman Simon Davis to get a feel for the house. He spent the night in one of Chapel Cleeve's guest bedrooms. So shocking night's sleep last night. I really couldn't sleep at all. It was so eerie as a wind against the windows and floorboards were creaking. I kept hearing all these noises. Simon is formulating a business plan to how this house could earn its keep and allow Jeannie to continue restoring one of Somerset's most historic houses. Morning, Jeannie. Good morning, Simon. Did you sleep well? A lot of bumps in the night. Creaking and bumps. You're probably used to them, are you? I have. Yeah. Did you hear the owls? I heard owls. The owl and the pussycats, I think. Likely laughter. Over half of Chapel Cleeve's 45 rooms are in need of renovation, and Jeannie must reveal to Simon the true condition of her home. Use your imagination. What happens here, you jackass? Do you know what this reminds me of? It reminds you of Del Boys. Oh, thank you. It is flat. I'm gonna give it a go. Bloody hell, not supported yet. Well, I can see the idea behind this. The view is very good. This wasn't really the plan, though, was it, when you bought this house to be sitting in an empty jacuzzi for the dead flies? No, room after room is in a dilapidated condition, and Jeannie currently estimates the restoration costs at around £500,000. But it's the medieval East Wing that is in the most perilous state. Steady as you go. Yeah, watch some of these floorboards here. It's just like we're in a different house. Isn't it? Altogether makes me slightly anxious. Want to move around too much in here. This goes back to when the Cistercian monks were here historically. This is the heart of the house. It's my favorite room. I think there's an atmosphere here, which is different to the rest of the house. For me, quite spooky. With the tour of the main house over, Simon wants to see what lies beneath. Just when I thought this house couldn't get any more vast, I've come downstairs to the cellars. Absolute warren. In fact, it's the entire floor area of the house. Over the years, these cellars have served many functions, even being used as an underground rave venue in the 1990s. With its spooky atmosphere, Simon may have uncovered a hidden gem. Chapel Cleavage is the house that keeps on giving. It's absolutely vast in here. These are the more traditional cellars. There's a wine vault there. This is where they used to hang, or the meat. It just shows sort of colorful and checkered history. that Chapel Cleeve has had Simon sets off to explore the local area. The Somerset tourist industry is worth £950 million per year, and with the reputation for creating unique events that capture the public's attention, he's after a solution for Chapel Cleeve that will be both original and lucrative. Nearby Minehead, whose population triples to 35,000 in peak tourist season, is home to the West Somerset Railway, as they carry over 20,000 passengers a year. Close to Chapel Cleeve, Simon wants to consult the railway's general manager Paul Conbert. Do you know Chapel Cleeve, the house? Yes, obviously. As a steam driver, we do actually see it as we drop down through the countryside. What I'd love to hear from you is whether, if I did come up with something for the inside of Chapel Cleeve, whether you think there's a captive audience here, and whether there's a potential partnership with the steam railway. I think 100, if you can provide a combined visit with a steam train ride, and then visit to an old house, that is a wonderful day out for Pia. Plesseman returns to present his findings. His business plan for Chapel Cleeve has three key components that together will not only provide Jeannie with a means to restore the house, but also help her secure the support she needs. Jeannie: good evening. Hello, Simon. When I first heard I was coming to see a woman who was living in a vast house with her 6 cats and no money, I thought she's completely mad. She just must sell it. It's absurd. Having met you, I now realize quite vividly what this house means to you. You have a profound emotional attachment to it that's quite apparent, not least because it was bought with your partner, and you've done an enormous amount of work on it. However, emotionally, I do think you have to move on first. Simon addresses Jeannie's precarious financial position, wants to create a regular income by combining the popular nearby steam railway with the eerie cellar space under the manor house into a unique partnership. I would like to create the nation's preeminent country house ghost experience here at Chapel. Take the scene. You've bought your ticket to go on. You're on the steam railway. You have come down from Minehead. You walk up to the spooky house, which you've just seen from the train. You walk in. You're met by actors who are acting as ghosts. There's a tour that you take down into the cellars. It's a fun spooky ghost tour. That sounds wonderful. Oh wow. By teaming up with an established events company, Jeannie would benefit from their experience and investment. A properly run attraction at Chapel Cleeve should generate an £80,000 income for the house by year 3. But with such a large property, Simon feels that there is scope for housing more than one enterprise. As Jeannie says, she is open to sharing the house with others if it allows her to continue living there. Simon's second idea is to find an organization or charity which needs the space she can offer in return. They could help her with Chapel Cleeve's considerable running costs, as well as paying a small rent. My idea is that we actually look in time for my next visit to do a sort of beauty parade, if you like, of potential charities to see if this is the sort of property that they may like to partner up with, and whether they're the sort of charities that you think you can work with and still live here. Simon's final concern is the massive task of restoration that Jeannie has been struggling with on her own in the past. She had a group of friends known as the A-Team whose help was vital. But as they got older or moved away, the project stalled. I do think we need to look to try and get a new team, and I would like to put you in touch with some organizations where we may be able to elicit some, if not entirely free workforce, certainly a very, very cheap workforce, because as we all know, that is one of the biggest cost centers with any job. The thing is as well, Jenny, is that the point of making this money is so you can finish the work that you started here and complete that journey. I would really like to do it, and if we can raise enough money to allow you to finish that and then stay here and live in this house that has been such an important part of your life, that would be great, and I would consider that a success. Me too. Well, at the moment my legs are like jelly, my tummy's going over, and it all sounds very exciting, and I'm always up for a challenge. so if a solution can be found, and I can walk forward with somebody, well then that would be wonderful. Someone is in London inviting groups who may want to share the space or help with restoration to an open day that will take place in 10 weeks' time. Meanwhile, Jeannie gets back to her day job of caring for her home. It's very repetitive a bit when you look at the windows that have been done, and the ones that haven't. It's rewarding in that sense, too, but it isn't long before she has her first opportunity to meet potential partners. How long do you think? You won't need to be here, okay? Then that'll be finishing to get the ghost tour off the ground. Simon has asked an entertainment company to visit Chapel Cleeve. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Nice to meet you. Welcome team from Thepil Entertainment Group. Well, it's a lovely old house, but it's had quite a checkered history, as you can imagine. You might well need some torches. The company runs events and venues, from stately homes to cruise ships at Chapel Cleeve. They are interested in creating a tour, weaving actors' storytelling and clever technology into an original way of guiding paying visitors around a country house. First of all, Jeannie takes the team into the dark cellars that stretch the length of the property, which she thinks cold of most interest. It's all on the flat, but if you'd like to follow me, we can come out to the back of the house this way. We do need to think about life. It's always easier in the dark. Then head to the next section. Through Jeannie's main residence. If you follow me forward, this is what we call the gallery. Jeannie leads them through to the medieval East Wing, where there are some interesting stories, which might prove inspiring for the ghost tour. So were the monks actually in this part of the house? I believe so, yes. I mean, it is tempting to just sort of make up stories for ghost walks, but in actual fact, if you can pin it to the history of the house, I'm sure there'll be some stories there, James. If we cancel out, they've created a room with no windows. Ghost walks have been growing in popularity in Britain, but there are very few permanently located at a country house. Would not like to be stuck in this room. To establish it as an attraction at Chapel Cleeve would require up to £250,000 to install the infrastructure and cover the first year's running costs, to assess the feasibility and demand the company want to run a trial event to test the idea. I think we need to start thinking about the actual route that the ghost walk is going to take. To begin with, Jeannie, we should concentrate in this floor and also perhaps in the cellars. That would mean then that we would be looking to come more into the house. Now of course, that means it starts to come into your area, into your living area, and that might be quite intrusive. Yes, I think it might well be. It isn't what I'd envisaged, but I think the first thing to do is just get people here and do a bit of a tester and see how it feels. I think that today spending time with us has enabled Jeannie to see that this is going to be quite an intrusive experience, and the best part of the house for us at the moment is the decorated part, and I see Jeannie's resistance when we talk about going inside, and it will no longer be just her home. It will be a space for people to come in. For Jeannie, the reality of sharing her beloved home with people who see it as a business first is more than she'd bargained for. I don't know that in the longer term I would want everybody coming through effectively the entire ground floor off me home, and the extent of what will be involved in making Chapel Cleeve profitable is beginning to hit home. I do doubt that I can achieve what I set out to achieve, or what we set out to achieve. I would like to see it. THROUGH music. Best of luck. She needs to impress them. When Chapel Cleeve opens its doors, will Jeannie be able to make some friends with benefits? I think I've gone to HEAVEN Music. Chapel Cleeve Manor in West Somerset is in dire straits, on the brink of bankruptcy. Its owner, 63-year-old Jeannie Wilkins, has reluctantly put her home on the market. Most people worry about money. A lot of people, when they get to my adjutant, expect to have to, and I didn't think I would ever find myself in this position, but I've put myself in it, and I've now got to find a way of working with it, or getting out of it. It's January, nearly 3 months since Simon Davis's last visit, and he's invited a whole host of charities and other organizations to look around Jeannie's house to see If they could use the space music and give Chapel Cleeve a secure future. Hello Jeannie, good afternoon, keeping the fires burning. Very good to see you again, nice to see you too, thank you for coming. Burning the furniture really well, yes I am, really is it got that desperate? I'm afraid it's getting that way. Oh really, sharing her home with a charity would not only give her a small income and help with the upkeep, but also give her long-term stability as the groups are about to arrive. Simon is concerned about first impressions. I just want to mention something. When I first came here I saw all these teddy bears and things. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to offend. How can I ask that we get rid of them? Oh, I'm not wishing to be rude about them. Well, actually, you know what, I am being rude about them. I can't stand them, and I think if you're trying to create a business here, there's an impression we need to give. And slightly moth-eating Jemima puddle ducks and stuff is not really the look we're going for. With its varied history, Chapel Cleeve's future security could lie in the hands of these prospective collaborators. Actually, I'll do all these, Jeannie, because they're about to arrive, so if you go and get changed, and with a potential partnership in the offing, Jeannie as them and her sole mistress will have to be open to their proposals. To be honest with you, I think Jeannie doesn't realism that spirited and enthusiastic about today, which does cause me a few concerns. This is your chance to show off, Chapel Cleeve. Best of luck. Thank you music. Good morning, I'm Gene Wilkins. So many of you, hello, it's Simon Davis. You're all very welcome. What I do have at Chapel Clicky is a lot of space, so if we can help people together, and that will bring in an income for the house, that I would be very grateful. I think it's got a nice feel to it. It's friendly, it's warm, it's welcoming, even if it's a bit cold. Anyway, this was the ballroom. You may think Jeannie did pretty well there with the introduction. She's now taking them on a tour of the house. I'm just going to join in. This was a bar in the days when it was a hotel. The light is very good for artistic work. How long ago was this refurbished? Well, we came here 13 years ago, and the roof had all but gone. What do you think? So far from outside it was being dark, very gothic, but then when we came in it was amazing how light it was. Jeannie did this with a whole group of her friends. Yeah, they put up the scaffold, so you don't actually want to sell it, and your vision for it is still to retain it as a family home, but with business coming in and continue the development of the house. As there is so much riding on a successful outcome for all parties, Simon takes the opportunity to have a quiet word with Jeannie. I think it's going really well, and you're doing a really good job, and you seem to get them engaged, but you're focusing quite a lot on the history of the house and a lot on the renovation. No, that's something that's very close to your heart, but you know it's not just about you and about that, it's about them. We need to be asking them what they feel they can bring to the house. Is this a suitable house for them? Ask them what their needs are. Okay, and then as you come through you can see more work in progress. And I don't know if you're seeing anything that you think that you can utilize, any space that you think you can use with only a few renovated rooms. This huge 27,000 square foot house is in need of extensive refurbishment, something Jeannie could never hope to achieve alone. To that end, and of the guests Simon invited is Paul Vowles, a construction course tutor from the local college. I really wanted you to come here because I thought this potentially is an excellent blank canvas for some of the students to apply their trade, learn their trade. Do you think has potential for that? Oh, definitely. Yeah, the iris around the wallpaper and the woodwork, even the plaster work, ideal for students to come out and actually feel what a real job is like. To be honest, having seen the house, the freezing cold guests head downstairs to thaw out over a cup of tea. You like to come and help yourself, and Jeannie finally seems to be warming to her task. But you were talking about possible yoga classes, one-off sessions. And among the guests are Naomi Griffith and Jessica Prendergast, consultants who have an impressive track record in setting up community projects. I've been working with local artists all around the area, so people who are looking for studios and art space, some place where they can come together and work together, And this I think kind of lends itself to that music, but has it produced any long-term interest? Oh, it's a lovely building. A project like this would be ideal for students to come out and practice their skills. She's obviously got an extraordinary amount of energy and determination to get things done. I think we could work really well together. Music, how do you feel it went? I think it went remarkably well, because I've always felt that with you, there's a certain reservation about opening up your home. Are you prepared for that? Realistically, as I am, but it's a lot to take in all at once, if you know what I mean. But if it enables me to stay, knowing that there is an income, it means that I can have some freedom in my own life, so it's a double-edged sword. But we done to make money, yeah, and I'd love to see by the next time I come that we actually do have a ghost walk, and also for you particularly to follow up with some of those charities and organizations. Oh, I'll be down. You like a ton of bricks. If you don't laughter music, it's very good. Now the roof. But you get the odd one like this one over here. Music, it's February, and a date for the ghost tour has been arranged. The entertainment team have only 10 weeks to stage the event and sell lots of tickets, but they're not the only visitors bringing Chapel Cleeve to life. Tutor Paul Vowles has brought 10 of his decorating students from Somerset College to start the renovation of the upper floor. Look what they've done in the morning, the ceiling wall. And now they're sanding wood. Can't really believe it. It's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I think I've gone to heaven with. Never come across a ceiling like this, with bad cracks in the ceiling. Rose Simon's idea of bringing their course out of the classroom and into Chapel Cleeve has worked, and both parties reap the reward. Chapel Cleeve will get nearly 10,000 hours of labor for free. And most importantly, Jeannie has assembled a precious team once again. The project's gonna be 3 or 4 years at least, and we've got a massive scope to bring not just decorating students, but carpentry students, plastering students, brickbook students out here too. Try and build this property up, and then while I do a bit of lunch for you like I did today, that'd be good. It's a few days before Simon returns for the ghost tour trial, and Jeannie has come to Mindhead to continue the discussions has been having about sharing Chapel Cleeve with the charity. At the open day she met Naomi Griffith, who set up the IS skate park and youth centre built with £3 million of lottery funding. An expert in getting large grants for community enterprises, she wants to partner with Jeannie on turning Chapel Cleeve into a new art-focused project. This is mainly scooters, although they also skateboards and BMXs have their in separate session. Naomi is proposing they apply for £1 million of funding to renovate the derelict East Wing and turn the space into 15 artist studios, as well as sussing the upper floor landing as a gallery for us. What's important is that for it to work as a business is that people feel that they are coming into part of the house, and that that's part of the experience, not that it's just some studios around the back, because a big part of how it would work financially is for it to be open to the public, and people to have that feeling of coming into this beautiful house and showing it off to its best to encourage visitors and a sense of community. The proposal includes a cafe on the ground floor which would provide Jeannie with an estimated £10,000 rent per year. It was a bit more in terms of downstairs space that I had anticipated. I mean, it's probably doable. I think a lot of people would use it, and for people to sit outside and have that beautiful view and see the steam train in the distance a bit. This project could take years to complete, and under immediate financial pressure Jeannie needs an income. No impending ghost tour is her best chance. Music, just see the roof, there's the West Wing. If people come and can appreciate what we're trying to of, then they'll encourage their family and friends to come, and it will hop a full grow like a mushroom, because it is a beautiful house. And it deserves to be saved for the future. Music, it's April and Simon's final visit to Chapel Cleeve in the 10 weeks since he was last here. His ghost tour idea has become reality. Hello Jeannie, so How have you been? Busy. We've got this event, the Ghost Tour, which I'm very excited about. We're sold out. You sold out. Fantastic news. Is that the train like in here it is he. So this is the way that the guests will come. It is, you can hear it gathering momentum. No, it's so evocative, isn't it? The old steam train with the event sold out. Simon is keen to talk to Susanna Daly, the MD of the entertainment company, about a future collaboration with Jeannie. What I'm very keen on finding out is what as a business is possible with this kind of event. We've got the perfect backdrop here, an absolutely stunning house, so we're already halfway there. However, in order to make something like this work, then clearly we need a really good solid infrastructure, good marketing, and that's where Jeannie is going to need some help. Am I right in thinking that you might be interested in working with Mizo? What we'd love to do after the pilot, we want to get some audience feedback, and we'll use this plan as a starting point, and we'll take it step by step, but this pilot is absolutely crucial, because it gives us a really cool litmus test as to whether it's interesting to people. It's wonderful to see this burgeoning sense of optimism in Jeannie. It's so important that the Ghost Tour goes off with a real bang. Only then will it help give her the extra boost of confidence that I know she needs if she is going to make a long-term commitment to the success of Chapel Cleeve. But will an encounter with Chapel Cleeve's history hit the right note? Let's just go inside and have a look.
El encierro de Sylvia Likens, una historia de tortura. El morbo se conjuga con una reacción de hipersensibilidad en el cuerpo. Frente a la pantalla no hay quien no se horrorice por lo visto en 1 hora y media. Una película refleja parte de la vida de Sylvia Likens, en especial sus últimas horas. Su sufrida y atroz muerte es inevitable tras ver el filme basado en la vida real An American Crime o El encierro, como fue traducida al español. Queda la sensación de ir más allá, de investigar un poco más de lo que fue la tortura de esta adolescente nacida en Lebanon, Indiana, el 3 de enero de 1949. Es que fueron días de dolor indescriptible los que vivió Likens allá por octubre de 1965. El único pecado de la chica fue caer en las manos de Gertrude Baniszewski, una trastornada madre de familia de 6 hijos, quien a cambio de dinero había aceptado el trabajo de cuidar a la menor y a su hermana Jennifer mientras sus padres se encontraban de gira con un circo. El calvario de Sylvia empezó en junio de 1965 cuando sus padres Lester y Betty Likens, quienes tenían constantes peleas por la falta de dinero, decidieron dejar a sus 2 hijas al cuidado de Gertrude, una aparentemente buena mujer que habían conocido días antes en una iglesia evangélica de Indianápolis, en el estado de Indiana. El trato era que la pareja Likens le pagaría $20 semanales a la mujer para que dé alojamiento y comida a las menores. La primera semana fue tranquila. El problema empezó cuando, transcurridos los primeros 7 días, el cheque de paga no llegó a las manos de Gertrude. En represalia, la mujer castigó fuertemente a Sylvia y Jennifer. Las encerró en el sótano y por momentos las despojaba de su ropa y las golpeaba con un tablón. Debido a que Jennifer sufría de poliomielitis, Sylvia, de 16 años, le propuso a su atacante que ella recibiría todo el castigo para que su hermana menor no se viera afectada, trato al que Gertrude accedió. El dinero llegó con un día de retraso, luego de que las menores ya habían sido maltratadas. De los primeros golpes y castigos siguieron más, en especial para la mayor de las hermanas Likens. Los padres de las menores visitaban a sus hijas en escasas ocasiones. Además avisaban con anticipación de su llegada. Gertrude amenazaba a las chicas de que si comunicaban a sus padres acerca de los maltratos, ella las golpearía hasta matarlas. La hija mayor de Gertrude, Paula, tenía la misma edad que Sylvia, 16 años. En principio, las adolescentes eran amigas, pero luego la situación cambió, debido a un chico. En represalia, Paula le dijo a su madre que Silvia tenía relaciones sexuales con todo joven que conocía y Gertrude tachó de prostituta a la chica a su cuidado. Tras esto, los castigos empeoraron. Likens pasaba en el sótano y era golpeada continuamente por la mujer en su encierro. La situación se puso crítica en octubre. Gertrude dejaba que sus hijos maltrataran a la adolescente, inclusive chicos del barrio. Coy Bard y Richard Dobbs se unieron a la tortura. Ellos fumaban y apagaban los cigarrillos en la piel de la víctima. También la violaron. Nadie denunció nada. El morbo se apoderó de todos. Ver a la chica convaleciente poco les importó. Los vecinos indicaron que sí escuchaban los gritos desgarradores de Silvia, pero que no se metieron debido a que Gertrude acostumbraba a maltratar a sus hijos y que esa situación ya era costumbre en su casa. Paula era quien más castigaba a la menor encerrada. Cogía una tabla y le pegaba constantemente. Gertrude, en uno de sus arranques de histeria, penetró por la vagina a la maltratada chica con una botella de gaseosa. La mujer metió con tal saña la botella que ésta se rompió en el interior de la adolescente, desgarrándola por dentro. Cuando sacó la botella rota con uno de los vidrios, le escribió en el abdomen: "Soy una prostituta". Eran los últimos días de Silvia, así como los más dolorosos. Dos hijos menores de Gertrude, Stefanie y John Vanissewski, también maltrataron sin piedad a la joven encerrada. La hija menor de Gertrude empujó por las escaleras a Likens y con esto le ocasionó una hemorragia cerebral. El ambiente era de desenfreno mientras Silvia moría lentamente. Gertrude, sus hijos y los vecinos implicados tomaban, fumaban y algunos se drogaban. Paralelo a esto, Jennifer Likens estaba atónita. Pasaba días sin comer en estado de shock al ver lo que sucedía con su hermana mayor. Silvia Likens no aguantó más su encierro. El 26 de octubre de 1965, tras meses de maltratos, falleció. En principio, Gertrude dio aviso a la policía de que la chica se había caído en el sótano, pero en el examen forense salieron a la luz todos los maltratos. Los médicos indicaron que lo sufrido por la chica ha sido la
Home, it will be a space for people to come in. For Jeannie, the reality of sharing her beloved home with people who see it as a business first is more than she'd bargained for. I don't know that in the longer term I would want everybody coming through effectively the entire ground floor off me home, and the extent of what will be involved in making Chapel Cleeve profitable is beginning to hit home. I do doubt that I can achieve what I set out to achieve, or what we set out to achieve. I would like to see it. THROUGH music. Best of luck. She needs to impress them. When Chapel Cleeve opens its doors, will Jeannie be able to make some friends with benefits? I think I've gone to HEAVEN Music. Chapel Cleeve Manor in West Somerset is in dire straits, on the brink of bankruptcy. Its owner, 63-year-old Jeannie Wilkins, has reluctantly put her home on the market. Most people worry about money. A lot of people, when they get to my adjutant, expect to have to, and I didn't think I would ever find myself in this position. But I've put myself in it, and I've now got to find a way of working with it, or getting out of it. It's January, nearly 3 months since Simon Davis's last visit, and he's invited a whole host of charities and other organizations to look around Jeannie's house to see if they could use the space music and give Chapel Cleeve a secure future. Hello Jeannie, good afternoon. Keeping the hem fires burning. Very good to see you again. Nice to see you too. Thank you for coming. Burning the furniture really well. Yes, I am. Really, is it got that desperate? I'm afraid it's getting that way. Oh Reala, sharing her home with a charity would not only give her a small income and help with the upkeep, but also give her long-term stability as the groups are about to arrive. Simon is concerned about first impressions. I just want to mention something. When I first came here, I saw all these teddy bears and things. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to offend. How can I ask That we get rid of them. Oh, I'm not wishing to be rude about them. Well, actually, you know what, I am being rude about them. I can't stand them. And I think, if you're trying to create a business here, there's an impression we need to give. And slightly moth-eating Jemima Puddle Ducks. And stuff is not really the look we're going for with its varied history. Chapel Cleeve's future security could lie in the hands of these prospective collaborators. Actually, I'll do all these Genie because they're about to arrive, so if you go and get changed, and with a potential partnership in the offing, Genie as them and her sole mistress will have to be open to their proposals. To be honest with you, I think Genie doesn't realism that spirited and enthusiastic about today, which does cause me a few concerns. This is your chance to show off. Chapel Cleeve, best of luck. Thank you music. Good morning, I'm Gene Wilkins. So many of you, hello, it's Simon Davis. You're all very, very welcome. What I do have at Chapel Clicky is a lot of space, so if we can help people together, and that will bring in an income for the house, that I would be very, very grateful. I think it's got a nice feel to it. It's friendly, it's warm, it's welcoming, even if it's a bit cold. Anyway, this was the ballroom. You may think Genie did pretty well there with the introduction. She's now taking them on a tour of the house. I'm just going to join in. This was a bar in the days when it was a hotel. The light is very good for artistic work. How long ago was this refurbished? Well, we came here 13 years ago, and the roof had all but gone. What do you think? So far from outside it was being dark, very gothic, but then when we came in it was amazing how light it was. Jenny did this with a whole group of her friends. Yeah, they put up the scaffold. So you don't actually want to sell it, and your vision for it is still to retain it as a family home, but with business coming in and continue the development of the house. As there is so much riding on a successful outcome for all parties, Simon takes the opportunity to have a quiet word with Genie. I think it's going really well, and you're doing a really good job, and you. But the radical group would meet a fiery end. On May 16, 1975, two SLA members attempted to steal an ammunition belt from a local store. While they weren't caught, authorities discovered their getaway van. They ultimately found the SLA's safe house, and by the following day, the compound was surrounded by police. A shootout ensued and the building went up in flames. 6 members, including SLA leader Donald Defries, died in the blaze. Hurst wasn't at the scene, but her life of crime would soon be over. On September 18, 1975, the FBI captured the socialite in San Francisco. She was convicted of bank robbery charges and sentenced to 7 years in prison. However, Hurst was released in 1979 after President Jimmy Carter commuted her sentence. The New York Times reported that Hurst's lawyers insisted she was reportedly physically and sexually abused by her captors, as well as brainwashed into joining them. As for the SLA, Jennings said the group is no more. As far as I know, there's no active organization called the SLA at this time, he said. As far as I know, after the arrests and the deaths of most of their members in the fire, that was pretty much the end of the group. According to the FBI, the last 2 members were arrested in 1999 and 2002. Jennings said Hurst now enjoys a quiet life while actively participating in the Westminster Kennel Club dog show with her award-winning pooch. That's kind of her life, said Jennings. I know she did some media since her release from prison, but very little. On February 14, 1974, an American heiress was kidnapped from her Berkeley, Calif. apartment, only to later renounce her family after claiming to have joined a domestic terrorist group as a gun-toting guerrilla. It is not the synopsis of a Hollywood blockbuster, but rather the strange, real-life tale of Patricia Patty Hearst, the granddaughter of publishing magnate William Randolph Hearst. While the 19-year-old would be arrested a year later for taking part in a robbery of a California bank on behalf of the Symbionese Liberation Army SLA. The story continues to perplex those who have wondered over the years whether Hearst was a victim of Stockholm Syndrome or merely a criminal. The Smithsonian Channel is revisiting the story of Hearst as part of their series, The Lost Tapes. The episode utilizes Hearst's own voice recordings, first-hand audio tapes of the kidnappers and rediscovered news footage to shed more light on what happened during those 19 months. Producer Tom Jennings was shocked to discover how the SLA, a seemingly small underground anti-government radical group, quickly managed to use Hearst as a means to get their message widely publicized by the media. In the several months before they kidnapped Patty Hearst, 2 of their members were arrested and eventually convicted of murdering an Oakland school, official Jennings told Fox News. That set the table in the sense that these people were very capable of committing violence. And so Patty Hearst comes along, and it was a very opportunistic way for them to put themselves on the front page of newspapers every day. They were certainly good at playing the media to their benefit back then. Several days after the kidnapping, Berkeley radio station KPFA received one of many communiques the SLA would mail to the press. At first, Hearst seemed calm and composed, assuring her distraught parents she wasn't starved or beaten by her captors. However, the FBI revealed that on April 3, the SLA released an audio tape where Hearst declared she joined their fight to free the oppressed and had taken on a new name, Tania. A dozen days later, she was spotted on a San Francisco bank surveillance wielding an assault weapon, barking orders to bystanders, and providing cover to her Confederates. It led to a massive manhunt. The question is, was this a Stockholm Syndrome type of thing where she wound up having empathy with the people who are actually holding you hostage? Said Jennings. There's probably some of that involved. I didn't get the sense from studying this that she was playing along to me. She sounded very genuine in her hatred of the government and her family. I think the SLA had turned her. Jennings claimed Hearst was kept inside a broom closet for up to 22 hours a day and reportedly even had a sexual relationship with one of her captors. He wasn't convinced Hearst joined the SLA willingly. She was plucked out basically from a life of luxury, having been raised by the Hearst family, to being tied up in a broom closet for days on end, being indoctrinated to this point of view, that everything having to do with how society was held together was wrong. Said Jennings. Who among us is to say how we would react under those kinds of circumstances? The FBI shared that during Hearst's disappearance, the SLA released audio tapes, demanding millions of dollars in exchange for her freedom. But during that time, she was being transformed by the SLA to become a poster girl for their cause. I believe the SLA saw themselves as kind of a modern-day Robin Hood organization, where they are literally going to rob from the rich to give to the poor, said Jennings. Their original demand was $70 of groceries for every person on welfare in the state of California in 1974. And somebody ran the math and said, well, that's $400 million. Even for someone like Hearst, that's not an amount he could come up with. He came up with the first $2 million, and they demanded more. This demand of food for the people. That's when Patty started to turn in her tapes. It's in my opinion they were trying to make a point. The point was you're rich. November 30, 2001. Police announced the arrest of the Green River Killer nearly 2 decades after the first murder. King County Sheriff Reichard announced that Ridgway, 52, was arrested in connection with 4 of the Green River Killer's early victims. Marcia Chapman, Opal Mills, Cynthia Hines and Carol Ann Christensen, whose body was recovered in 1983. November 5, 2003. Ridgway pleads guilty in a plea bargain that would spare him the death penalty in return for his confession and information regarding the details of the murders and locations of the bodies. Ridgway entered a guilty plea to 48 charges of aggravated first-degree murder. I killed so many women, I have a hard time keeping them straight, Ridgway said in a statement, admitting he killed most of his victims in his house or truck before disposing of the bodies, adding that in most cases, he did not even know his victims' names. Most of the time I killed them the first time I met them, and I do not have a good memory for their faces. Explaining why he chose women he thought to be prostitutes, Ridgway said they were easy to pick up without being noticed. I knew they would not be reported missing right away and might never be reported missing. I picked prostitutes because I thought I could kill as many of them as I wanted without getting caught. December 18, 2003. Green River Killer, a timeline of his murders, arrest, and conviction. Claiming to have murdered as many as 80 women, Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer for the Seattle, Washington location where many of his victims were discovered, was America's deadliest convicted serial killer when, in 2003, he pleaded guilty to 48 counts of murder. Over 20 years, Ridgway methodically raped and strangled scores of women, many of them prostitutes or runaways, dumping their bodies across a wide area of King County to confuse authorities. Investigators believe that, throughout his murderous spree, the seemingly mild-mannered Ridgway never spoke to anyone of his killings, or kept trophies of the grisly crimes. All the while, he maintained his long-time job as a truck painter at the Kenworth truck plant in Renton, and married for the third time. In July 1982, children found the strangled body of Wendy Caulfield, 16, floating in Seattle's Green River. Over the following weeks 4 more bodies were discovered in or along its banks, all women, all strangled. On August 15, 3 more bodies were found, and Detective David Reichert was one of the first authorities to arrive at the scene. Marcy Chapman, 31, was found in the shallow water alongside the naked body of 17-year-old Cynthia Hines, and nearby in the undergrowth lay the body of Opal Mills, 16, blue trousers knotted around her neck, breasts exposed, bruises apparent on her arms and legs. August 16, 1982, a police task force is set up after the King County Sheriff's Office set up the Green River Task Force to investigate the killings. The body count rose as more victims were discovered along the river and in the area around the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Over the next 2 years, the Green River Killer sexually assaulted and murdered more than 40 other women. Every time you found a body, it was like being hit on the head with a baseball bat, Reichert told Time magazine. April 30, 1983. Ridgway first becomes a suspect in the spring of 1983. Prostitute Marie Malver, 18, was last seen by her boyfriend getting into a paint-patched pickup with a dark-haired man about 30 to 40 years old. 4 days later, police questioned Ridgway at his home about his knowledge of Malver, whom he denied knowing. In November, police once again spoke with Ridgway about the murders, but he denied any knowledge of the victims, and authorities lacked evidence to connect him to any of the crimes. In 2003, Ridgway told investigators he stood against a fence during his original 1983 questioning to conceal scratches Malver had left on his arm while trying to escape. Ridgway said he then burned the scratches with battery acid to disguise them once the detectives had left. May 1984. Ridgway passes a polygraph test. Already a person of interest due to his known association with area prostitutes, Ridgway contacted police with the supposed intention of assistance. He then passed a polygraph test in which he denied killing any women. 1986. The police talk with Ted Bundy. With few reliable leads in the Green River Killer case, authorities were desperate for any information to further the investigation. Having read about the ongoing case in the press, convicted serial killer Ted Bundy wrote to Reichert offering his help in the case. Reichert flew to Florida, where Bundy was being held on death row. During discussions, Bundy reportedly advised authorities that the killer may be revisiting his victims' corpses and performing sexual acts on them, a hypothesis Ridgway later confirmed. 1987. Ridgway provides a DNA sample that would eventually be his downfall because Ridgway was the last person allegedly seen with 2 of the victims. police eventually searched his home and vehicles in 1987 in connection with the murders. It was at that time Ridgway finally provided police with a saliva sample that would later tie him to the crimes. But due to insufficient DNA testing at the time, Ridgway remained a free man for more than a decade. March 2001, DNA testing expands and connects Ridgway to 3 murders with new techniques in forensic testing at their disposal. Investigators re-examined evidence from across the years the killer had been active. It was a last-ditch effort. Beverly Himmock, a Washington State Patrol Crime Laboratory forensic scientist, told the New York Times. "We didn't have a lot to work with, but we went through a lot of evidence again. We rinsed all the fingernails to look for trace evidence and swabbed the ligatures for cellular material. With one girl, we were able to find a few sperm clinging to her pubic hair. New DNA profiles from 3 victims were compared with Ridgway's, thanks to the saliva."
Acerca del crimen debido al impacto que tuvo el atroz asesinato de Sylvia Likens en la sociedad estadounidense. El caso ha sido inspiración para varios libros y para una película. En 2008 fue puesto en cartelera el filme An American Crime, película que llegó a Ecuador con el nombre de El Encierro. La trama está basada en los últimos meses de vida de Sylvia. La actriz principal fue Ellen Page. De su parte, Gertrude Baniszewski fue encarnada por Catherine Keener. El autor Jack Ketchum escribió el libro The Girl Next Door, que salió a la venta en 1989. El caso del libro es muy parecido al de Sylvia Likens, excepto por los nombres de los personajes y por parte de la historia. En el texto, los padres de las hermanas protagonistas mueren y ellas quedan a cargo de su tía, una mujer con desvaríos mentales y que trata de apantallar que tiene una familia normal. Sobre la base de este libro también se hizo la película La chica de al lado, un filme de terror y drama en el que una mujer maltrata sin piedad a una chica a su cuidado hasta causarle la muerte. Condenas: Gertrude Baniszewski, sentenciada a cadena perpetua por el encierro y asesinato en primer grado, estuvo recluida en la prisión de mujeres de Indiana. Obtuvo su libertad condicional el 4 de diciembre de 1985, luego de estar 20 años en la cárcel. Durante el juicio negó toda participación en el crimen, pero en 1990 aceptó finalmente su culpabilidad. Paula Baniszewski, hallada culpable del encierro y asesinato en segundo grado y sentenciada a cadena perpetua, salió libre el 23 de febrero de 1973. Tuvo una hija el mismo año y la llamó Gertrude Coyubard. Sentenciado a 21 años de prisión por homicidio impremeditado. Tras su estancia en prisión, se dedicó a la vida delictiva y volvía con frecuencia a la cárcel. Richard Dobbs fue declarado culpable por homicidio involuntario y sentenciado a 21 años de prisión. Murió a los 20 años de cáncer pulmonar. John Baniszewski fue encerrado en prisión a los 13 años y obligado a cumplir una pena de 21 años. Fue el preso más joven del reformatorio de la historia de Indianápolis. Tras cumplir su condena, se convirtió en pastor laico. Stephanie Baniszewski, sentenciada a 12